House Republicans pass Donald Trump's bill and they take a victory lap. Hope none of them get injured on that lap because they just gutted our nation's healthcare system. This is just another day. If you've noticed a bunch of old white people staggering home from the country club this morning, men with neckties around their foreheads, women carrying their high heels, it's because Republicans have been partying their faces off.
Right, you're looking at high fives on the House floor, people taking pictures with the House Speaker. The reason being the breaking news. House Republicans just pushed President Trump's domestic agenda a big step forward, passing the massive tax cuts and spending bill after marathon meetings and deep internal divisions that we've talked so much about among House Republicans themselves.
Yep, House Republicans pulled an all-nighter to narrowly pass Trump's self-described big beautiful bill. A bill that's so beautiful that when America stands next to it, we look much less attractive. Because this bill cuts billions from healthcare, food stamps, and education, and all from the people who need it most. And per usual, Republicans rewarded the rich with tax cuts, the people who need it least. It's like giving Stephen Miller a comb. Why? But if you were looking to watch a show filled with high-stakes bipartisan drama that didn't involve a Kieran Culkin dick pic, last night you were in luck.
It's designed to strengthen our national security, fortify our now secure border, which was turned into a disaster by you all.
It's telling that President Trump and his cult followers have chosen to name their bill after its size and its looks.
Buckle up, America, and put your seat in the upright position, because with the passage of this bill, the golden age of America is ready for takeoff.
Ah, yes. Great metaphor. Let's use air travel to represent this bill in a country where airplanes are famously falling out of the sky. Now, while this bill cuts taxes for corporations and billionaires, Republicans also found one more constituency to cut taxes for. Those poor, forgotten folks who never seem to get a fair shake in Washington, D.C. I'm speaking, of course, of hitmen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My Democrat colleagues have challenged why the deregulation of silencers is in this bill, and why are we removing the $200 tax? Well, under the law, they are firearms and therefore protected by another law enacted in 1791 called our Second Amendment.
A tax break on gun silencers. Although, I gotta say, if the Republicans are gonna kill the working class, I suppose the least they could do is make it quiet. But one of the most repulsive parts of the GOP's effort here is the way that they're attempting to spin this bill as if it's a win for those who stand to lose the most.
President Trump simply said on the campaign trail, America will be the crypto capital of the world. This may be a major part of his legacy when we make it easier for the struggling Americans working paycheck to paycheck to have more access at a lower price point. But this bill must go forward because it's good news for the American people, especially ones living in poverty.
Yes, and isn't that the complaint that we hear over and over from struggling Americans? I'm a single mom working 2 jobs. How am I supposed to make ends meet and put Bitcoin on the table for my family? But just because Democrats were in the minority didn't mean they stayed silent. One after another, Democrats stood up and issued fiery rebukes to this horrific piece of legislation. And they also got a few solid digs in.
You know what gives people fiscal certainty? Food in their refrigerators. Mr. Speaker, I just said to the gentleman, the reason why the tax cuts for middle-class families might expire is because that's the way you wrote them in the 2017 Republican tax scam. Mr. Speaker, I can't believe the Republican argument is just trust us. Well, Mr. Speaker, some people may be wondering, why are we debating this bill at 1:20 in the morning, which is prime time in Guam?
Meanwhile, the representative from Guam is like, hey, what the fuck did I do? But if there's one thing guaranteed to set off House Republicans, it's a knock on their concept of time.
The Democrat leader is mistaken. We aren't currently in the dead of night. We are voting for the one big, beautiful bill.
House will be in order.
We are voting for the one big, beautiful bill first thing in the morning.
Look, I hate to be this guy, but if I told you to close your eyes and think of a face that would debate the semantics of whether some early AM time where it's still dark outside was night or morning, I think every one of us would picture this face. Ugh. Look, I consider myself to be progressive, but also maybe we bring back bullying. Now, while the Republican Party was mostly unified in their vote for this bill, there were some staunch fiscal conservatives who simply refused to get on board, most notably Representative Thomas Massie of Kentucky.
Under the taxing and spending levels in this bill, we're going to rack up, the authors say, $20 trillion of new debt. over the next 10 years. I'm telling you, it's closer to $30 trillion of new debt in the next 10 years. This bill is a debt bomb ticking.
Exactly, a debt bomb ticking. You can't find a more apt metaphor for what's going on in this bill.
We're not rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic tonight. We're putting coal in the boiler and setting a course for the iceberg.
Which one is it, man? Ticking time bombs or massive shipwrecks? I mean, if we're taking suggestions, I'd offer up that with all the people being kicked off of food stamps, maybe we go with Hunger Games. But before leaving the House floor, Massey reminded everyone of the code that he lives by.
If something is beautiful, you don't do it after midnight.
Well, I think we now know someone's cut off for sexy time. So the Republican bill passed even without Massey's vote, which is something that didn't go unnoticed by the White House.
Does the president think that they should be primaried?
I believe he does, and I don't think he likes to see grandstanders in Congress. What's the alternative? I would ask those members of Congress. Did they want to see a tax hike? Did they want to see our country go bankrupt?
Yeah, I hate to break it to you, but if we're going to go bankrupt, it's literally because of this bill.
A report from the Congressional Budget Office, a nonpartisan group, concluded that this bill in its current form would add a whopping $3.8 trillion to the federal deficit between the years 2026 and 2034.
Wow, that is stunning. Not so much the number, but the fact that Jake Tapper is talking about something besides Joe Biden's cognitive decline. But anyway, back to Carolyn Levitt. What were you saying?
The president believes the Republican Party needs to be unified, and the vast majority of Republicans clearly are, and are listening to the president. They are trusting in President Trump as they should.
Republicans are not trusting in President Trump. They're living in fear of him, and you just admitted it. Telling members of Congress, members of the president's own party, that if they don't fall in line, they'll be out on their asses is not the type of leadership that belongs in the Oval Office. It belongs in this one. Look, this piece of legislation is not a done deal. Still has to make its way through the Senate, and one can hope that some senators on the Republican side still have the spine to do what's right for their country and their constituents. But I'm not holding my breath. In the short term, this after midnight vote, or as Massey calls it, the devil's legislation, may very well lead to the Republican Party getting swept out of Congress in the midterms. And for good reason. $700 billion in cuts to Medicaid, $500 billion in cuts to Medicare, $300 billion in cuts to SNAP programs. And these are not blue state programs. They are programs that bring aid to working class voters, the specific voters that this guy promised to help if elected. But just like his dance moves, it was all one big jerk off. Because ultimately, what Republicans really wanted was their $1.5 trillion tax cut. That's the pot of gold at the end of this rainbow. That's their priority, stealing from the poor and giving to the rich. It's like the House GOP learned everything by reading Robin Hood in reverse. But that's a point worth highlighting here. Republicans are clear about what they want, and it's a tax cut. And they will go down swinging for it every single time. And they refuse to let anything stand in their way, even if it means their own prospects in midterms, which honestly should be a lesson for the Democrats, because the Dems will let everything stand in their way, whether it's the filibuster or the parliamentarian or some arbitrary procedural hurdle. I mean, hell, Dick Durbin didn't even vote one time because a traffic cone was in his way. Democrats all too often defend the procedures of government instead of exercising power in the rare instances they have it. And unlike MAGA Republicans, they can exercise that power in a virtuous way. They can strengthen healthcare. They can increase the minimum wage. They can codify abortion rights. They can take care of society's most vulnerable. And I bet they could even do it before the clock strikes 12 so that Massey can still get his groove on. It's so difficult to finally gain power, so why are we not exercising it to its fullest extent when we get it? We're so worried about potential backlash in the future, but so what? We lose an election, who cares? It's not like we'll be in the wilderness forever. I mean, hell, Trump incited a fucking insurrection at the US Capitol, threatened the life of his own vice president. Republicans gleefully joined him in rewriting that act of treason as a peaceful protest, and they were in the wilderness for all of one election cycle. In other words, if the worst that happens is that you cede power for a beat, don't you think you should at least take a big swing while you've got the chance? So Democrats, it may sound odd, but please take a cue from the Republicans. You can do whatever you want when you're in the majority, even if it's after midnight. Before you go, if you enjoyed this content and you want to see more and support independent media, please subscribe to this channel. The subscribe button will be right here on the screen. But second, the reality is that we are now in a political environment where this administration can lean on any of the social media platforms to suppress certain voices if they don't like critical coverage. That means my longevity here is in the hands of a few tech billionaires who are already making it clear that they are willing to cater to this administration. To that end, signing up for my newsletter is a way for me to reach you directly if that ever becomes necessary. I'll put the link right here on the screen as well, so please sign up. It's free, but there's also an option to do a paid subscription if you'd like to support me and my team. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching.